His name was Elias Vance, a man whose life was a tapestry woven with threads of mystery and determination. He was a man driven by shadows, shadows that loomed large over his existence, casting a long dark veil over his every step. Shadows of a past not his own. A past filled with stories and legends, tales of glory and downfall that were not his to tell, yet they haunted him. But a past he felt bound to redeem. He felt an unspoken duty to right the wrongs, to bring light where there was once darkness. A family story spoke of greatness. A greatness that seemed almost mythical, a beacon of hope and pride that once shone brightly. It also spoke of disgrace. Elias carried this weight, the weight of expectations, the burden of a legacy tarnished by time and actions. He believed a single act could change everything, a single moment of courage, a single discovery that could rewrite history. The legend whispered of the Sunstone, an artifact of such power and mystery that it could alter the course of fate. A relic of immense power, or perhaps just symbolic worth. Its true nature was shrouded in the mists of time, or perhaps just symbolic worth. To Elias it represented hope, a chance to restore what was lost. It was said to lie hidden away from the eyes of the world, waiting to be discovered by one worthy, deep within the ruins of Kyle, an ancient city swallowed by the desert. A place where time stood still, an ancient city swallowed by the desert, its secrets buried under layers of sand and history. To find it was Elias's obsession, an obsession that drove him to the ends of the earth, to the heart of the desert. He thought it held the key to unlocking a future free from the shadows of the past, the key to restoring his family's lost honor, an honor that had been buried just like the Sunstone. He believed it was his destiny, a destiny that called to him from the sands of time. Kale was a name on a faded map, a ghost city, a place where legends were born and died. He set out in the spring of 2024 with hope in his heart and determination in his stride. Elias began his journey. The red desolation greeted him. It was a silent, sprawling beast. Its breath was hot. Its skin was cracked earth and shifting dunes. The sun climbed high. It became an anvil, beating down without remorse. The light was blinding. The air itself seemed to shimmer with heat. This was the domain he had chosen. Rocks baked under the relentless glare. They radiated a fierce warmth. Even the shadows offered little comfort. They were thin. They were fleeting. The silence was profound. It was broken only by the wind, a dry, sighing wind. It whispered tales of those who had failed. Elias felt its touch. Days bled into one another. They became a blur of heat and effort. Thirst was his constant companion, a fire in his throat, a dryness in his mouth. Water was more precious than gold. He measured each sip carefully. Hunger was a dull ache. It gnawed at his insides. His supplies dwindled too quickly. His pack grew heavier with each mile, or so it seemed. His shoulders ached. His feet burned. Each step was a small victory, but each step was also a torment. His skin, exposed to the sun and wind, cracked. His lips split and bled. The desert was relentless. It was slowly taking him apart. Why did he continue? What drove him deeper into this hell? The answer was simple and complex: the Sunstone. It represented more than just a stone. It was hope. It was redemption. It was the only path he saw, the only way to silence the ghosts of his family's past. He remembered his grandfather's stories, tales told in a hushed, somber voice. Stories of a name once respected, now tarnished. The shame had been a shadow over their lives. Elias felt it keenly. He felt it as a personal burden. This journey was his penance, his chance to make things right. Or so he told himself. He had to prove them wrong. Then the storm came. It rose from the horizon, a wall of churning sand and dust. It hit him with sudden fury. The world vanished, swallowed by the stinging, blinding grit. He crouched low, covered his face. The wind shrieked like a banshee. He lost all sense of direction. He was utterly alone. When the storm finally passed, hours later, he was disoriented. The landscape had changed. Familiar landmarks were gone, erased by the wind. His meager supply of water was now critically low. A cold dread seeped into him. Panic flickered, a dangerous spark in his exhausted mind. He forced himself to move. After the storm, after the fear, He was weak, his vision blurred. Each step felt like a monumental effort, his legs heavy as lead. The desert stretched endlessly before him, a vast sea of sand and heat. Delirium nipped at his consciousness. His mind played tricks on him, shadows morphing into shapes that weren't there. He stumbled, catching himself just before falling. He walked like a man in a dream or a nightmare. The line between reality and illusion blurred. His thoughts drifted to the stories of those who had perished in the red desolation, driven by the last vestiges of his will. The Sunstone. It was his only hope, the beacon that kept him moving forward. He clung to the thought of it, a lifeline in the vast emptiness. He had to reach it. He had to know. The Sunstone was more than a goal. It was a promise of answers, of salvation. His fingers twitched, reaching out as if he could grasp it from afar. Then through the haze of heat and exhaustion he saw them. Crumbling walls, broken pillars, the ruins of Kale. Were they another mirage? His heart pounded in his chest, a mix of hope and dread, a cruel trick of his dying mind. He had seen mirages before, cruel illusions that vanished upon approach, but this felt different, more tangible. He blinked, he focused. His vision cleared slightly, enough to make out the details of the ruins. They seemed solid, real. No, they were real. He had made it. Relief washed over him, but it was fleeting. The journey was not over. He had crossed the red desolation, a surge of something, not joy, more like grim satisfaction. He searched the ruins, frantic, desperate. The answers he sought were here, somewhere among the ancient stones. He had crossed the desert, a feat that many had deemed impossible. The endless expanse of sand and scorching sun had tested his limits, pushing him to the brink of his endurance. He had won his impossible wager. He had reached Kale, the legendary city that many spoke of in hushed tones, a place of ancient secrets and forgotten glory. But what in the end was truly won? The city, once a beacon of hope, now lay in ruins, a shadow of its former self. He sat among the ruins, contemplating the journey that had brought him here. The echoes of the past whispered around him, but they offered no comfort. The dull stone in his hand. He felt nothing. The Sunstone, the object of his quest, was nothing more than a myth, a cruel joke played by fate. Only a vast, hollow emptiness, the kind the desert specialized in, a void that consumed everything in its path, the kind the desert specialized in. It was a place where dreams came to die, where hope was a fleeting mirage. He was a conqueror of nothing. His health was shattered. The journey had taken its toll, leaving him a mere shell of the man he once was. His body, once strong, was now a wreck. The relentless sun had burned him, and the harsh winds had stripped him of his strength. The sun had burned him. Its unforgiving rays had left him scarred, a constant reminder of the price he had paid. The thirst had withered him. Every step he took was a battle against dehydration, his body crying out for relief. The journey had stolen his vitality. Each grain of sand seemed to sap his energy, leaving him weaker with every passing moment. His spirit, once so fiercely bright, was crushed. The weight of his failure bore down on him, extinguishing the fire that had driven him. The Sunstone was a lie. The promise of glory and redemption had been nothing more than an illusion. The family honor he sought to restore felt more distant than ever. The journey had not brought him closer to his goal, but had instead pushed it further away. He had lost himself in the sands. The desert had claimed